All right. Good morning, afternoon, evening to everybody out there. It is another great day and another episode of the Real Estate Investing Club. It's about to drop here with Charlie Hardage. Charlie is a multifamily master working on multifamily syndications, and he's an expert at underwriting, which we love to talk about here because if you buy a bad deal, doesn't matter how much effort you put into that property, it's not going to make you money. It's all about underwriting, making sure you're getting a good deal, and that is what we're going to dive into here. So, Charlie, thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Excited to be here.
Absolutely. I told you right before we got on here, we like to start with stories. So take us to the beginning of your story. How'd you get started in real estate?
Oh, it's several parts. So I'll skip the time periods in there. But when I was 10 or 11, my had a buddy that my best friend's dad had his own business. I grew up middle class mindset, work for people, not start your own business. And so that wasn't real estate related, but that was just there's something else out there where I could be my own boss. Fast forward, I had my best friend now, business partner and brother-in-law as well. He had one of his family members had vacation property in a different country doing amazing. I was like, wow,
country, interesting.
Yeah,
country,
Egypt.
Oh shit!
Yeah, it won't get into everything there, but yeah, had something in Egypt in a really safe part of town, and they rented it out to government officials making bank. And I was like, whoa, that's awesome. Still didn't get into real estate. Fast forward 2012, I was on my second deployment in Afghanistan and read Rich Dad Poor Dad. And that started the holy crap. This is kind of like all the pieces are falling together. Real estate just makes sense. About a year after that, heard about multifamily syndication where I could passively invest and didn't have to be experienced. Obviously that's a scam, right? So didn't take the leap there. Still tried to learn everything I could about every type of real estate niche out there. Years later, went back to syndication, and I actually educated myself really for the first time, and my mindset was starting to evolve after 30 something years. And I jumped into 2 deals passively within a few days of each other, and I felt like this is exactly what, I finally found what I have been looking for 35 years. I had some single family, but it wasn't, it was like the accidental landlord. We lived there, we moved, we kept the property, rented it out. But yeah, that's a very quick how I got into real estate story.
Nice, man. No, I love it. And so you invest as an LP in other sponsors deals.
We have 2 in my wife and I have 2 as an LP, but then as I started learning more about that, I was like, man, I feel like this is my calling, and that's really what I wanted to do. Because going back to when I was 10 or 11, I wanted to be my own boss, didn't know what it was. My buddy had his family members had some vacation properties. I was like, wow, real estate is starting to make sense. Rich Dad Poor Dad, obviously real estate's the way to go because they talk about income generating assets. Real estate offers that. And then the syndication space, what I really loved about that, Gabe, was the fact that I could be active or I could be passive. And that was my decision, right? If I wanted to become active, I could, which is what I do now. But long term, in 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, maybe I'm not active, but I understand it enough where I have money. I can say, there you go, invest wisely and find a good deal. And so like, it just offered so many benefits for me personally, for my family, for our financial future. The time is a huge thing for me, like being able to do things on my own time when I want. That's multifamily syndication. I can do all of that, right? It checks all those boxes for me.
Yep. Yeah, I like a lot about your story, especially when you were really young in the 10 and 11, and you had that friend whose dad was a business owner. I feel like it's so important to have somebody to kind of show a model of what is possible when you're that young, because
Yeah.
then you grow up and you realize like, hey man, I don't have to work a W-2 if I don't want to.
Yeah.
There's other options. And I mean, it's awesome you got into multifamily, Rich Dad Poor Dad. That's the same thing I read to get into. My story was long, but yeah, to get into real estate, Rich Dad Poor Dad's how I got here. So love to see that. And I like that you started out as investing in somebody else's syndication. So many times on the show, investors come and they are the active GP in their deals, and that's just kind of how they got up, and then they kind of graduated to being LPs in other people's deals. But I feel like it is so useful and can really shorten your learning curve if you first invest in somebody else's deal, understand how to run a deal, understand how they underwrite, how they manage, how they exit, and then use those tools, use that learning experience that you had with their deal to do your own. And it sounds
Yeah.
like that's the model that you did. And I'm sure, I mean, tell me how did you find those LP deals? How'd you find the GP, the sponsor? And then how did that inform you when you decided to, make the leap into your own deals?
Uh, well, I found the sponsorship team. It was one of them is a family member.
Mm.
But he and his team, I mean, they have over $3 billion of properties,
Three
over 100
billion.
deals.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
over 100 deals. So I knew, that he was legit, and
Yeah.
what their returns, what they project versus what their actuals are. I was like, wow, this is insane. So for me, it was kind of easy to find the deal,
Mm.
because he found it, and or their team found it, and I knew him and his track record. Um, and so that was easy. I think, and very beneficial. But previously, when I had heard about syndications, I was like, obviously it makes sense for active investors, but from the passive side, like, yeah, you don't get those benefits, right? Never heard about passively investing in anything other than IRAs and stocks, mutual funds, all that stuff. So um, I think for me, being able to talk to them about it, and reach out to the team, and I have a question, they can not they can answer it, they do answer it, because that's a big distinction too. Not all GPs and GP teams answer questions, which I can't stand that. But just being able to educate myself through them, and then also just diving into it, trying to learn more about what it is, how to add value. I met other people in that space, got on their mailing list, went to their webinars. I didn't have the money to invest, but I wanted to see, like, what are they doing? Anything I could, just to soak up everything, right? What people look for in deals, what people look for when underwriting, value add, all that stuff. Wanted to just soak it in, and man, Gabe, after several months, I was like, maybe I could do this full time, eventually down the road. But I just tried to learn everything I could about it, and I'm so glad I did, because I think that shortened my timeline by years and years.
Yeah.
Even if the returns aren't as good initially, I feel like in the long run it is, because you want something that someone that takes their own advice, right? You don't want someone just saying, "Oh, invest in passively," if they don't themselves.
Yep. Yeah, it's something that I kind of wish I did, was invest in somebody else's. I didn't know you could. When I started
Yeah,
out, I didn't know it was an option. But it's something that I really see the benefit of in investing in somebody else's deal before you get started. And that applies to even changing asset classes. If you're already, say you're investing in multifamily and you want to start investing in self-storage, it's great to invest in as an LP in somebody's deal to understand kind of the self storage as an asset class. So really see the value there. Um, once you did the investment, what was the initial investment that you made? Like, I just kind of want to show people,
finance wise,
yeah, like what
financial.
was, yeah, the
Uh,
total amount that you invested.
we did two, and I don't remember which was which, but one was 50,000, one was 60,000. So
Yeah.
altogether, within a few days, it was $110,000.
Yeah, yeah, and 50,000 seems to be the minimum investment for a lot of LPs or GPs out there. which, I know everybody out there, it sounds like a lot, but if you save up over time, you can make 50,000, and it's an investment. So it'll have a return if you can trust the jockey, trust the GP that you're investing with.
Right.
Um, so let's switch gears real quick to talk about underwriting. This is what you're a master at. And so what is your underwriting process, and what are some of the key things that you feel is unique to your underwriting that is kind of gives you confidence in the deal before you go into it?
You know, so I'll say historically, my underwriting has been 5-year hold.
Hmm.
We look to double investors' money in 5 years. Now, if it's, an 88% return, we're not going to say no, right? But ideally, we're doubling investors' money in 5 years or less. And something I did when I first started underwriting, Gabe, was in markets that I knew I didn't want to invest in, I still wanted to underwrite because I wanted to see, I just wanted that practice. I wanted to be able to practice and practice and practice. It started with a good kind of template, underwriting template, and it's gone from 5 tabs to 10 tabs, and
I
just
know, I
all.
know that bloat.
Yeah, and it's good though. I like Excel. I use Google Sheets. I like spreadsheets, I should say. I like doing that stuff. I did that as a sales manager, just running reports all the time, and just kind of making it my own. And now I can look at a deal. I don't want to say look at it in 2 seconds, know if I want it or not, but it doesn't take me 6 hours like the first one did.
Yeah.
And that first one was probably full of holes, but I know how to do it just because of practice and repetition. And if something didn't work for me, I would add a tab, or I would slightly change something, or whatever to make it work for me. I think, look, and I have several different phases of underwriting, right? I don't go into everything and spend an hour and a half underwriting. I'll look at it, and if it meets my criteria, let's just say I'm looking for 80 units in Nashville in a, B class area, then, if it's 75 units and it's a C class and on the other side of town, that's usually out the door, right? Pretty quickly. But I've underwritten enough, and to anyone that does underwrite, when you start underwriting a lot, a decent price per door, at least a good ballpark, expenses in that area, or what they should be, what they could be. And so from that, you're able to speed up your process, speed up your timeline. And so now I have several different phases. The first phase is just kind of very, very quick glance. Hey, is this something we're even interested in, right? Does it fit my year of construction, the class, the market, the unit type? And is the whisper price even ballpark where I think it should be with the cap rate? If that doesn't fit, then I throw it out the window and I move on. If it does work, then I look at phase two. Phase two is I just start putting in the unit mix. I don't even go from, if there's 100 units and 7 different unit mixes, I'm not going to do all 7. What I'll do is I'll just say 100 units at, the average price of the average rent of the unit. I'll do that, and then I'll go to the expenses tab and just say, I won't break all the expenses down individually. I will just lump it in there. And if those even pencil, meaning if they're 60 to 70% at first glance, then I'll take a look at it, and then start looking at comps. I do a drive-by Google Street View analysis. What does it look like, or what did it look like whenever the picture was taken? And that's before I even go and tour the property. I'll look at comps, look at the amenities. What does this one offer that we're looking at versus the submarket? The broker's pro forma is just that. It's a pro forma.
It's complete garbage, in my opinion. Every single
Yeah,
broker's pro forma that I've seen just
they
does not reflect reality.
they take what they want to take. They leave out what, they what doesn't help them. And that's, I mean, I don't
Yeah,
blame
no,
them,
I
right?
get it. I get
I would do
it.
it,
Yeah.
but and so for me, it's like, hey, try to find the exact property next door. That's not going to happen, but you can find some good comps in that, within a mile or two drive typically. what do they offer? Where are their rents? What do they lack? Like, what amenities could they have that they don't? You know, because if we're the same price, but we offer a picnic, you know, a new grill, and the other one has a broken one that hasn't been fixed, why would people want to go there, you know, when ours is the same price and is a little nicer? So that, you know, full underwriting per hour and a half, 2 hours, but that's really because I'm getting to the nuts and bolts of the comps, and I look at you know, what's renting on the local MLS, even homes, even though those aren't necessarily, you know, those aren't comps. I want to know, like, what do people afford in this submarket? And you get good enough that after a while, it's funny. I was underwriting a deal last year that we toured. We really liked it, had an LOI on it, made it to best and final. One of the comps on there that we had toured went up for sale several months later. I was like, hey, I already have a lot of the underwriting, you know, that I literally did like 2 months ago. So I was able to pull that up and, you know, get a really good idea of the underwriting without even seeing their financials. And when they said this is the whisper price, I was like, yeah, not even close. So didn't move on. But yeah, I love underwriting. It's fun. It's
Yeah.
a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I like how you kind of do yours in phases. I do the exact same thing. I, you know, go through each phase. I'm trying to cut it out because I don't want to spend. If I do the full underwriting, it'll take me 2 hours to really
Yeah.
get all the details in there. But if I can cut it out by, you know, my first go to, because we invest nationally, my first thing is I just pull up best places and I look at the city. If it has a negative net migration, if there's, you know, but losing population, it's out. Don't even consider it. You know, if the economy is not projected to grow, don't even consider it. You know, there's a number of things that we look at just to really quickly make a decision on a property. So I like that phased approach. I feel like it works pretty well.
Yeah.
And then I like that you're talking about repetition. I feel like that is super important, especially when you're just starting out, is in getting your underwriting muscles to kind of start working by just underwriting as many deals as you can as they come along. Because you're right, once if you do a number of them, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40, after time passes, you're going to realize that you can quickly understand a property's value just by looking at it, if you're sticking in the same metro, if you're not switching metros. But love all that. Is there any specific tools that you like to use? I know you said Sheets, but outside of Sheets, is there anything that you website or anything that you like to use for your underwriting?
Definitely apartments.com.
Mm.
And then the local MLS, which, you know, sometimes the MLS will have not apartments, but townhomes or condos, you know, very close to it. But then I also like to look at Zillow and for recent comps, recent sold single family homes in the area, just so I know that, hey, you know, they're $300,000, you know, that's a little lower than most of this area, right? So maybe it's not as nice of a town as we want. Or if it's 800,000, it's like, okay, you know, got to be something to that. But then also they have the schools on there, how the schools are rated, you know, just to get a decent idea of, hey, I know this is a good city, but every city has good schools and not as good schools. So like to make sure that we're in, you know, if we're going to offer I don't want to say luxury, but if we're offering like a B class property, I want to make sure that the schools are also A or B class, right? That they're good schools, that it's not this nice product in a terrible part of that town.
Yeah. Yeah, for like B and C for mobile home parks, when we underwrite those, we the rule of thumb that we use is Walmart. If it's within a 10-mile radius of Walmart, then it's generally a pretty good deal. I love those quick things you can look at and just make a decision, because it really does help you in your underwriting.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Repetition, definitely, man. If anyone is listening, trying to get into as an active side, and you want to underwrite, repetition. That really, I think, even though I was spending hours and hours every day and hours on deals, that has allowed me to now look at a deal just like you, Gabe. Look at a deal and be like, no,
Yeah,
you know,
doesn't
or
work.
okay, let's pursue
Not
it a
worth my
little
time.
more. Yeah.
All right, man. Well, hey, I just took a peek at the clock. It looks like we have run it down, so it's time to jump into the quick question round. Are you ready?
Awesome. I am.
Let's do it. Starts with books or any form of education. I need 2 recommendations. one for general life wisdom, and then one for real estate or business specific.
All right. So what I would say is, and I don't remember the exact name of it. It's whatever, I think it's Whatever It Takes by Steven Schwartzman, the CEO of BlackRock. So that's real estate book. Obviously I would have said Rich Dad, Poor Dad, but probably a lot of people say that. But then as far as like just a non-real estate book, Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. It was just amazing with mindset and kind of everything he went through. Is an amazing book.
Yeah, David Goggins. I think I saw his Joe Rogan episode or something. I've seen him pop up on feeds out there, and he's an inspiration.
Yeah.
He has some good things to say.
Yeah, insane.
All right, next question is for your younger self. So let's go back to the Charlie who was just getting deployed, however many years ago that was for you. Go back to him, look him in the eye, give him one piece of advice moving forward.
Ooh, educate yourself on real estate and financial freedom.
Cool.
I definitely feel like that my biggest change over the last few years and has led to real estate was just my mindset and educational piece that, hey, there is something else out there. You don't have to work for someone forever, like you've been told and like everyone says. So education, mindset, and real estate.
Nice. I like it. I'm going to put that in the bucket of getting started sooner, because a lot of people come on the show and that's what they say is they wish they started sooner. And so anytime somebody says that, I call it out for anybody listening. If you're listening to this podcast, you're just educating yourself. I love it, but don't waste time. Go out there, get your first deal done. You will not regret it.
Yeah. Agree.
All right. That leads us to the next question. This is about your business. It all starts with the first three people we hire. So what were the first positions you hired, and would you do it in a different order if you did it again today?
Well, we haven't hired three yet, but we have a couple VAs that help with media, getting us on podcast and things like that. So as far as what would I do differently now, I think I would have done podcasts sooner. Doing that route, I did not build a personal brand. I shied away. I hid from that. So I would have done the same thing, just sooner, just, a few years sooner. I was only focused on underwriting, finding deals. But no one knew about our business, right? We don't have this huge marketing budget. So really just getting the word out sooner. So would have hired them sooner. Our next hire is going to be helping with our podcast, editing that, getting more guests on our show. And then after that, we're looking for marketing help.
Perfect. I love it. Yeah. I've said this so many times on the show. If you guys are out there and you are thinking about how to establish yourself as an investor, being on people's podcasts or starting your own is such a good way. And it helps us when you're talking with sellers too, because they're going to Google you. And if your podcast pops up, they will have more confidence in you. I know just having a podcast doesn't really mean you're good at real estate, but it does have that psychological effect of it just shows them that you're in the game. You're out there, you're talking to people, you have an education, you know what you're talking about. So if you have any inkling for it, I say go get yourself on a podcast, start your own podcast, or talk to other people. I think it's a great way to get going. I know both of us are biased because we both have our own podcast here, but I do think it's a great way to start your brand.
Definitely agree. I know a guy that he had about 100 episodes. I thought he was this major bigwig in real estate, and about a year and a half after I met him, he's like, "Oh, our first deal went full cycle." And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you're this authority figure. I thought you would have done, hundreds of deals, but no, first one." But I mean, he does know what he's talking about too.
Yeah.
It's not just that, I know, but I definitely agree.
It just goes to show that having a podcast, it helps you with, perception of you being an authority figure.
For sure.
But that doesn't mean, if you do start your podcast, you do got to be good at real estate. So don't forget that part. All right. Next question is about the US. It's a big place, a lot of opportunity out there. Give me the single metro, the single city you're most excited about investing in today.
Nashville. I'm local to it. has no state income tax, which is nice. There's only, I think, 8 states that have that.
I did not know that.
Yeah,
Huh.
there's only like 8. I think it's like Alaska, Texas, Florida, Nashville, or Tennessee, excuse me, a few other places. Low cost of living, tons of businesses are moving here all the time. Good politics. That's all I'll say about that. At least for a real estate investor, business owner, and just tons of migration all the time and over the last 10 years here.
Nice. Yeah, Nashville. We were talking before the show. I love Nashville, and you're right. The metrics in terms of net migration and everything, it's definitely in favor. So good market to choose. Going on to the next question, and this is about finding deals. It all starts with the lead. So what is your favorite way to generate leads for deals to buy?
Well, starting out when I was first underwriting, it was Crexi and LoopNet. Which, if you're not familiar with it, it's like Zillow and Redfin for commercial properties, not just apartments, but all commercial properties. After finding deals there, you're on the brokers lists. So I don't go there too much anymore, but now I get brokers send me emails all the time. Once you network with brokers too, they'll send you some off-market deals when they get them. So now I don't have to go searching for them. I could open my inbox every hour of the day and have some deals in my inbox.
There you go. I'm going to put that one up for networking. That is a great way to find good deals. All right. Next question is about mentors. None of us are islands. We all stand on the shoulders of giants. So who is one mentor who contributed significantly to your real estate career today?
Wow. Definitely say my family member who's in real estate. And he's done different types of real estate, but he's been doing multifamily syndication for a while. I don't know how long, a while now, but he's big time guy doing it. So he's definitely helped a lot.
Nice. I love it. All right. That leads us to the very last question. This is for the listeners. I'm sure people want to reach out, get in contact with you, learn a little bit more about what you guys do out there in H&K Investment Group. So what is the best way for people to reach out?
Best way is our website, hkigllc.com. My calendar's on there. You could contact me through that, or there's a form to fill out. I'm on LinkedIn and Facebook, Charlie Hardage, and then have a podcast, Passive Investors Playbook, that's on all the podcast platforms in the world. So
perfect. I will put that in the show notes, hkigllc.com. And that is the Passive Investors Playbook podcast. If you guys want to search that. If you want those links, just click the more in the description. It'll pull down that full description. And there you can find Charlie's links. All right, man. That wraps it up. Thank you very much for hopping on the show.
Yeah, thanks, Gabe. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. For everybody who's here with us today, thank you guys for showing up. You are the reason we do this. So if you guys have any questions whatsoever, reach out to me, Gabe at therealestateinvestingclub.com. And if you want to support the show, all we ask, give us a like, subscribe, share, all that jazz. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great week. Keep rocking real estate, and I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.